Best of r/entitled Parents episode 43. Some of you may remember the story I wrote about almost being trapped in an arranged marriage. Right up to the day I married the man who rescued me from that life, my mom saw my upcoming freedom as a threat. This is the story of her last grasp for control. I will call my husband Michael in this story, since I usually call him hubby, and that would be weird since my parents are the ones talking to him. But don't worry, it's still not his real name. When Michael and I were planning our wedding, we decided to move back to his home state so he could finish college. The plan was that we would spend our wedding night in a cabin in the woods, then ride back with his family the next day, before picking up his car and setting off for our real honeymoon at the beach. All went well and we had a lovely first day of marriage, alone together in our secluded, little cabin. When night fell, however, my new husband started to feel weird about it, and wanted to lock our bedroom door, even though the front door was locked as well. I just thought he was being cute, because since I was raised in that cult I mentioned in the other story, and he was raised very conservative, this was our first time sleeping together, and I thought it was adorable that he was so shy. So I humored him and locked our bedroom door. Edit. Apparently I wasn't clear enough here, but we were both virgins and this was our first night for everything. I was hoping I wouldn't have to come out and say that, but the comment section was confused. So, yep, we had our alarm set for 3:30 because his family was picking us up to drive back at 4 AM, and we went to sleep not expecting anything. I was woken up by a strangely familiar sound that confused me. Loud knocking and then, OP, Michael, wake up. All sweet and quiet, but getting progressively louder and persistent. It was my dad's voice, and he was in the house, knocking on our bedroom door, on our first night of sleeping in the same bed as husband and wife. I looked at the clock, and it was 2 AM. Both my new husband and I rushed to get our clothes on, bewildered as to how this could have happened. Once we were decent, we opened the door and there stood my dad, smiling and completely oblivious to what he had just done. Dad, there you are. Time to wake up. Me, Dad? Why are you here? Dad, we wanted to say goodbye before you left. Me, but we aren't supposed to leave till 4. It's 2 AM. Dad, I know, but your mom said it would take a while for you to get ready and pack your bags, and she wanted time to spend with you after that. Our bags were already packed, since we were only staying one night there. We hadn't unpacked anything. We had planned to just get dressed and go, but now we were awake 2 hours early and feeling very weird that my dad had woken us up in the middle of the night on our wedding night. I asked, if the whole family is here, where are they? Dad, they're in the van outside. The gate to the driveway is locked. You have the only key. I walked down to get it from you and let them in. Me, but how did you get in the cabin? Dad, oh, we have an extra key for emergencies. We just didn't realize the gate had a key too. My husband grabbed the key and gave it to my dad, and after he left my husband said, aren't you glad now that I wanted to lock the bedroom door? I just nodded, feeling miserably embarrassed. Our two families drove up to the house. His parents were staying with my family during the wedding, so when my mom ushered everyone over, they got swept along too. All my siblings piled inside our cabin, darting around and asking which bed we slept in. My husband's face was red and I could tell he was starting to not feel well. My mom came in all smiles, asked what we needed help packing, and looked disappointed when I told her there was nothing left to be done and we had been ready the night before so we could have as much sleep as possible before we were supposed to leave at 4 o'clock. I could plainly see she got my hint that I was not happy, but she shrugged it off and said, oh good, then we have more time to spend with you before you go. I just shook my head and looked at my husband, very concerned for him now as he was holding his jaw and starting to wilt against the kitchen counter. I asked him what was wrong and he said he had the worst toothache ever and thought he might need a root canal since it felt exactly like the time he had one in the past. He still smiled and said that even though it hurt, he was at least glad it waited until after our wedding, so it didn't ruin anything important. I insisted that he was more important than anything else and asked what I could do to help him feel better. He asked for some ice water to hold in his mouth and as I got it for him, my mom told him all the essential oils he should use to fix it and then called us all into the living room to line up and sing the goodbye blessing song. My husband politely stood there with his mouth full of water, as my mom led my brothers and sisters in performing song after song until I finally cut in and said, well, we better get on the road and see if we can get Michael an appointment at his family dentist back home. My mom said, oh really? I wouldn't have made us come out so early if I'd known you would just leave earlier. I shrugged and was more than a little annoyed that she didn't care at all how long she was making my husband stand there in pain. We loaded our suitcase on top of the one box full things I was bringing from my old home. Then we hugged everyone goodbye and got on the road. As soon as morning actually arrived and the dentist opened, we scheduled an emergency appointment for my husband. They were very generous and were able to get his bad tooth taken care of in one day, and we were still able to make it to the beach. That is another story entirely. To this day it amazes me how my dad didn't even realize how awkward it was for us to have him come knocking on our door during our first night together. I can only assume he was so focused on keeping my mom happy that he was on autopilot and wasn't thinking. I get him back though, now that they are divorced and he has a brain again, by telling the story of how he crashed our wedding night every chance I get and watch his face turn, belatedly, red. Edit. Since I realize this is kind of a part 2. Here is a link to my first story so I'm not leaving some people in the dark about what kind of cult this was. I also answered a lot of questions in the comments underneath it, so be sure to read those if you're still confused. It was messed up, I know, and I'm sorry. LOL https://www.com/r/entitledparents/comments/d6fh8k/ how I was almost trapped in an arranged marriage/ UTM medium equals Android app and UTM source equals share. Thank you. Next. I love my grandma, but the one thing that makes her the most entitled in our family is no one is allowed to have a sick day under her roof. Mine and my aunt's roles as caregivers don't stop even when we are sick. Have an awful head cold? Make me coffee and don't sneeze on my coffee. Pants full of diarrhea? Give me my food. Yet meanwhile I and my aunt, who also shares in the caregiving, both have to self-medicate and pill it up. But when my grandma also gets sick, guess who has to take care of her? Me. I know she's old, means well, and it's the right thing to do, but come on. Almost an entire year of not having a sick day has got to take a toll on your body. I've never had a simple rest when I was sick, because one minute I'd be resting my head and my grandma calls out for me to make her coffee. Thank you. Next. On mobile. English isn't my first language, sorry in advance. I just started college this fall and made new friends. Also I'm at the same faculty as my best friend, so all of us started to hang out together. Winter break was coming and I asked them if they wanted to spend New Year's Eve at my place and have a house party. They said sure. There was but one problem. My mother. I asked her in the last month and a half about 4 times if I could have 6 people tops on New Year's. She always said no because she wasn't going out and wanted to sleep. I understood and gave up. I didn't like it since I only asked her this once, and for the past year I cleaned the entire house, basement, 2 stairwells, ground floor and first floor, and thought I earned a bit of slack from her, but what can you do, she's still my mom. Thought we'll spend it together. My friends made plans. I decided I'll stay home since I wasn't invited. If I asked they would probably accept, but I'll feel weird, plus most are going with their friends, so I'll be the odd one out. Christmas Eve comes around and we go to my grandfather's place to spend it with him. It's better than usual as nobody shit on my this year, and we leave. At home mom speaks with an old family friend who lives in Germany and, after much thought and wine, decides she'll go there. I'm dumbfounded. So here I am, not doing anything because I thought I'll stay with her while she's making her luggage. I've learned my lesson though. I won't ask again, I'll just invite my friends. Thank you. Next. I, 24, am spending the holidays at my parents'. As per usual, they got in a fight at Christmas dinner. It got real loud and annoying. My dad started yelling at me about my weight. Valid concern. No need to yell and call names though. Dad, something about me being a disappointment cause I'm fat. Me. Well, you don't have to worry about seeing me anymore. After I finish the dishes I'm going back to my apartment. Dad yells, if you leave your mom and I are getting a divorce and it will be your fault, and you'll have ruined Christmas for us all forever. Me. First of all, that is a decision between you two, and not my fault or choice to make. Second, Dad interrupts. I will not let you leave me. Thinking, my car, my apartment. You were complaining about how you have to pay all the bills for everyone, but I have my own place and expenses. Dad, I need you here to help us with your brother's party. And won't you stay for your mother? She needs you. I finished the dishes. I stayed, because I said I would help. Hate how my parents feel entitled to my time and effort when they don't seem to care about mine. Apologies for formatting. Mobile. Thank you. Next. My sister, Gretchen. Entitlement started even before Christmas. She called up my nana demanding my nana give her all her art projects. This forced my nana to dig around the house for days trying to find them. My nana put them into 2 separate boxes, one for Gretchen and one for my oldest sister Rhonda. Rhonda's box had a board game in it and Gretchen saw it. So she just took it and gave it to a friend. My nana found out. Nana, hey, where's the game I put in Rhonda's box? Gretchen, oh, I saw it and I knew my friend would like it, so I took it and gave it to her. Nana, why would you for that? Gretchen, I just thought she would like it. I don't see how this is a big deal. Nana, that was not yours to give away. I gave it to Rhonda. My sister agreed to get it back, but she still didn't see why it was a big deal. On Christmas Day, my nana made me a care basket full of food. Gretchen saw it, picked it up and started to walk away with it. Nana, what are you doing with that? Gretchen, oh, I saw it and I wanted it, so I decided to take it. Nana, that's not for you. It's for Bluelin. Gretchen, winning. Why does Bluelin get food? I want some too. It's not fair. Nana, because Bluelin is running low on food and she can't afford more. Gretchen, still winning, but I'm poor too. Why does Bluelin get food and I don't? Angie, won. My little sisters, because Bluelin is poorer than you. Put it back. Gretchen got angry, but she did put it back. So after present time, I'll post it later. My nana generously offered that my sister make a plate of leftovers to take home. My sister make a plate, and a pan full. And it wasn't a small pan either. She took so much food there was barely any left for anyone. She took half of huge ham. My nana was not pleased. I'll post more about her and Christmas in another post. Thank you. Next. Hello all. I tried posting a while back but didn't have a lot of karma, so let's hope this time it stays up. Might be a little long, I'm not sure. TL. Doctor at bottom. So a little bit about events leading up to this encounter. Backstory, if you will. I have been playing a game called Magic, the Gathering, MTG, for about 18 years, 24 now, and for the past couple of years I have started hosting drafts with people within the groups that I play with. For those of you who don't play the game, MTG had been going through a fantastic story arc that just ended around the time Endgame came out. When I hold these drafts, they are located either at someone's house large enough or a pizza place, more accommodating to larger groups, and normally have between 8 to 18 people. Now I had a plan to where all the drafts leading up to War of the Sparks, starting with Ixalan, would be smaller with small prizes, $200 US including the booster box, but you would accumulate points and the final draft all your points would be added up in places accordingly. I spared no expense with this final draft as this set was a big part of MTG. $900. That brings us to a couple months ago to the event, and the people in this situation. For any confusion. Me, MTG enthusiast, Greg, guest 1, 18 years old, Mark, guest 2, 32 years old. They were the only ones who spoke or got up during this encounter. Names are changed. M, manager of pizza place. Karen, the one and only. Kid, nice kid, 10 or 12 years old, I don't know. Okay, so for the draft I had decided to hold it at one of our local pizza places as they had a large party room and had allowed me to use it for previous drafts. I had everything set up and people were starting to show up. I greet my guests and show them where they can sit and play some games while they wait. About 25 minutes go by and everyone is here, 18 in total, aged between 16 and 40. I explain the rules to everyone, show everyone the prizes, so on and so forth. I give everyone a pairing for round 1 and start the timer. I'm sitting near the entrance of the party room watching everyone play when I see a kid with his face pressed up against the window looking in. I think nothing of it, as you don't see drafts being held in pizza places very often. More children's parties than anything, and kids are curious creatures. Not more than a minute passed and he's now standing next to me. Kid, what are you guys doing here? Me, we're playing a game called MTG. Kid, can I play too? Me, I'm sorry, this was a planned event that you have to pay to be a part of. I saw the disappointment on his face and couldn't just have him leave empty-handed, and he was the only kid in the place. There were others with other families that ventured over to see what was going on. Now I love showing people what MTG is and what it's about, so I tell him to hold on a second, go and grab him a couple of those cheap starter decks and a rule pamphlet from my suitcase, then head back and hand them to him. Me, here, you can have these. You can learn how to play from this points to pamphlet, and there's 2 decks here so you and a friend can play. He smiles, thanks me, and runs to what I can assume is his family. I go back to what I'm doing as the first round of the draft was about to be over. About 20 minutes later, middle of round 2, a woman comes over to the party room entrance and stands right next to me. I look up and made my mistake for the year. Me, hi, there's something I can do for you. Karen, my son told me that you said he couldn't play that game with you all. Why would you say that? Me, as politely as I could, I explained to your son that this draft has been planned for a while and you had to pay to participate. Karen, but he's just a child. You can't tell him he can't play games. Me, I don't know if he showed you or not, but I gave him 2 pre-made decks and a rulebook so he could play with one of his friends if he liked. Karen, yes, I saw them, but why did you give him a small box one and not one of those large boxed ones? She points to the prize table that had a Planachase box on it. A few commander decks, Draconic Domination and Subjective Reality were just a couple, some random empty deck boxes and boxes full of sets of dice. Me, those are given to the winners of this draft and are very expensive. Karen, well, if he's going to learn how to play he needs to have a better deck. Me, I gave your son 2 perfectly functional decks as they're pre-constructed. Karen, well, that's not good enough. At this point, Greg and Mark look up from their game, and Greg turns around. Greg, can you try not to yell? We're trying to concentrate on our game. Karen, why don't you mind your own business? Adults are talking. Greg shoots me a look of is she serious, and I return the same look. Karen, you obviously aren't going to help me, so I'll just help myself. Karen starts to walk towards the prize table, but I quickly block the doorway to the party room. I tell the players in the room that the round is paused and turn to look at Greg. Me, hey, could you go get the manager? Looks like we have a problem I can't fix. Greg makes his way out without letting Karen in and went to go get the manager. Karen manages to make her way past me by hitting my hand that was placed on the doorframe, causing me to pull my hand back. She quickly made her way to the table and picked up the first box she saw, the Dragon Commander, and turns to leave. Mark gets up and stands in her way, trying not to make contact. Mark, these prizes aren't yours. You will be stealing if you take them. Karen, he's, me, just giving them away so it can't be stealing. Mark, he's not giving them away. We all paid to be here. None of this is free. At this time, Greg came back with the manager. The manager walks up to Karen and notices the box in her hands. Mom, are you causing a disturbance for these people? Karen, no. They said I could pick out one of the prizes for my son. Now this thug here points to Mark tried to attack me. Greg told him what had happened before they made their way back so he knew how to handle it. Mom, these people are here for an event. One which you clearly weren't invited to. I suggest you go back to your family and leave my restaurant. Karen, but I'm a paying customer. You have to let us stay and eat. Mom, if you don't leave now I will be forced to call the cops for disturbing the peace. That got her attention quick as she shoved the box into my chest and hurried back to her family, telling them they had to leave. Kid gave me a sad sorry face. As they were heading out the door he yelled thanks for the stuff. Karen glares down to her kid and says something like be quiet or something. They were too far away at that point. Em apologizes for the inconvenience and gives my group a couple of large pizzas for free. I thank him saying it's okay as nothing escalated to where the cops needed to come. The rest of the draft goes by without a hitch and we never saw Karen for the rest of the night. I hope the kid gets to keep the cards and learns how to play and the mom doesn't just burn them. Thanks for reading if you got this far. Have a great day and don't forget your Karen repellent, haha. TL. Doctor. Entitled mother tries to get more out of my generosity. Ended up leaving in shame. Thank you. Next. So a little backstory. I work as a technician at a cinema. It's really fun and I enjoy every day, but I do meet my fair share of entitled parents. I've been kicked, yelled at and thrown popcorn at on several occasions. As you all know, Frozen 2 is currently on the program. It attracts lots of people and so it's set up in our biggest auditorium. This specific show was packed. That means a little over 400 people. The cast is me, myself, entitled mother. In the first 15 minutes I have to check that everything is going fine in the auditorium, temperature, sound and so forth. I stand on the side and see a mother coming over to me with her kids and doing too rather loudly. She spoke really loudly during our entire conversation. Excuse me. Hello, me, is everything alright? My daughter needs to use the bathroom. Me, okay, it's out the door to the right and then, number. You have to pause the movie. Me, what? I can't pause unless it's something very serious. My daughter needs to go to the bathroom. Me, sorry, but I can't pause for that. But there was a line before the movie, and we don't want to miss any part of the movie. We paid a lot of money to see this movie, and you are required to do this. Me, I'm sorry, but there's a packed auditorium and I just can't pause it for one person. But I have 2 kids. Me, if you need to use the bathroom you can do that during the movie, but I can't pause it while you do. If you'll excuse me, I have to go on to the next auditorium now. I turn and start to exit the auditorium and suddenly feel something thrown at my head. Yep, our biggest. I don't know the word in English, and Google Translate says goblet, so popcorn goblet. Bad choice, lady. I got out of the auditorium and the manager called security and she was taken out of the cinema. She surprisingly didn't make much noise, but one of her kids spit on our security guy. He didn't press any charges because it was sort of minor and no one got hurt on our part. Did have a bump on the head the next day though. If anyone knows the correct word for popcorn goblet, please tell me. I'm so curious now.